Hey there guys, Portal Master 9351 here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about something I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while, and that is the core of light. So, the core of light is composed of 8 elemental sources, one for every element in Skylands: magic, tech, water, fire, undead, life, air, and earth. Yeah, all 8. Just confirming. So, it was the main focus in SSA. And if you hear, and just a forewarning, if you hear some noise outside my door, we've got the Roomba, one of those little automatic vacuum cleaners running right now, so if that's what that noise is. But anyways, it was the main focus in SSA, where you had to go around to retrieve it after Chaos blew it up. The elemental, the eternal elemental sources, so like the eternal air source, the eternal water source, and other pieces of the thing, like the twin water spouts of something I think it's like OSHA Major Minor, something like that. All these crazy pieces where you could finally assemble the core of light. And the core of light was able to repel the darkness. But it wasn't complete. The core of light was meant to actually be able to destroy the darkness, not just keep it at bay. And that was a focus in Superchargers. And the first thing I want to talk about is, what was the core of light going to do? Because we get the pieces and stuff, but then it's blown up again. It's destroyed. Scattered, presumably. It's either scattered or disintegrated. One of the two. And it's no more. We never get to see what the core of light actually is able to do. And my assumption, and most other people's assumptions, because there was a whole forum topic about this, was that the core of light is a cannon. It's a cannon of light. I mean, if you look at it, that's exactly what it looks like. But presumably there is some way to aim that giant beam of energy and use it as a cannon blaster type thing where it could disintegrate the darkness into nothing. But what happened to the core of light? Well, we don't really know what exactly happened to the core of light. Like I said, we don't know if it was disintegrated or scattered. I can only assume that it was scattered. I can only assume that, because that's what happened the first time. That only seems logical. But I want to talk about why there was no light or dark elemental source in there. A lot of people thought, when it was revealed that the core of light was not complete, that we needed more pieces, a lot of people thought that meant that we had to go get a light and a dark piece to the core of light. But that never happened. The core of light was still complete, even though we didn't have a light or dark elemental source. Why was this? Well, first off, light and dark, I've talked about this before, but light and dark are present in a lot of the elements that are out there. And I think that it's like, in magic, there can be magic used for good or magic used for evil. Light or dark magic, per se. Fire. Fire can be used to heat up a building, or it can be used to burn the building down. There is light and darkness within it. Technology. Tech can be used for amazing things. Building amazing pieces of machinery. Or it can be used to create nuclear bombs, for example. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about how these elements have good parts to them and bad parts to them. A light and dark per se. And my theory is that light and dark is sort of a meta element. It sort of exists within all the other 8 elements. But the light Skylanders are light in its purest form, and the dark Skylanders are dark in its purest form. But even within light and dark, there is still good and evil. Light and dark are not necessarily good and evil per se. It's just it's an interesting concept that it's possible that all these elements are somehow created from light and dark, which is something interesting. If that is true, if that theory is true, that tech, for example, is a combination of both light and dark, and that air is a combination of light and dark, but light is the most present out of that, and darkness is a little less present. But then you take water, for example, that's darker, and dark is more present, but light is still in there. You end up with these weird hybrid elements. And so what if the elements that we all know and love are actually just all hybrids, mixtures, if you will, of the light and dark elements? Which means, if that is true, that there can be hybrid elements. There could be a hybrid element of any combination. Which means, one more thing, if the elemental sources are scattered throughout, what happens if they land in an environment that's not of their own? We saw in SSA where you end up with the fire elemental source in a volcano, and you end up with the earth one. I think the earth one was like underground, I think. The air one is in this area with all this wind, with all these wind things. They landed in their natural environments. You know, the life one was in a tree, was in a forest. So what happens when the water element lands in a forest? And what happens when the fire element lands underground? What happens when the life element source lands in, I don't know, an ocean? What happens? You end up with this ocean enriched with life elemental energy. I think you can see where I'm going with this. You can end up with these hybrid amongst hybrid elements. A life and water area. A magic and undead area. You end up with these hybrids. And so, what if the next game is a game that features hybrids? Hybrid elements. And this is just the first theory out of my core of light being scattered theory, that we end up with hybrid Skylanders. Now you might think, but Portal Master, that's the same thing that happened in Swap Force. We ended up with characters that could be of the fire and the water element. Just take like Wash Zone, for example. Or, I don't know, let's give a Stink Charge, for example, a life and tech character. But that's not the same thing. You have the top half that is life and the bottom half that is tech. They are still separate. You have a life thingy working together with a tech thingy. Not a life and tech thingy, if you will. So, it would be different if we had a fire-water character. And it would allow for some very interesting design mechanics. To have characters that are able to work with... I haven't made a long video on my iPad, so I had to delete an app. As I was saying, you end up with these characters that can use both elements in their design mechanics. So, let's say, like fire and water, for example. You can have a steam character that can operate with heat-based water abilities. They can scald the enemies with their steam. You can take let's see, what's a good hybrid? Let's go with a life tech. You can have some sort of a creature that is a cyborg, and it's half Skylander, half machine. And you end up with these combinations of characters that can do interesting things by combining the elements. One thing that you didn't get with Swap Force, I don't care that you could have a tech, or let's do it everyone, an air magic character. You know, Free Shadow operated as Free and Shadow, not as Free Shadow. In all reality, Free Shadow could do some pretty interesting things just with those various combinations of, you know, all these different combinations can do these crazy things. Let's see. Rattle Shake. You take Rattle Kraken. Kraken can launch fireworks and then shoot the snake into the fireworks and, like, explode the snake everywhere. Or, you know, you end up with these combo moves where they're able to play off of each other's abilities. That's something that we missed from Swap Force. And maybe if we had hybrid characters, it could change that. Again, this is all speculation. The next thing is another thing that we've long talked about, is interchangeable weapons. And it's a bit of a twist on interchangeable weapons. And it's more of an idea behind something that I think may have originally been the idea behind Trap Team. I think the original idea behind Trap Team, just based on some prototypes that we've seen, was that the original goal was to have interchangeable weapons. I really think that was the original concept behind Trap Team before it was officially Trap Team. Whatever Skylanders 4 originally was going to be. We were going to have interchangeable weapons, or something along those lines. Well, what if we ended up being able to get the elemental sources in their, like, orb form and could swap them out between weapons or between Skylanders and empower them? So you end up with an air character that you can put the fire elemental source in, and now it's a fire air character. Or like weapons that you can put the fire source into, and now it's a fiery weapon. Something along those lines. I think that if they decide for Skylanders 6 to play with the elements a bit and talk about the origins behind the elements and what they are, what they can do, I think that they've got a lot of options that they can explore as far as the elemental sources go. But, like I said, we don't even know what happened to the elemental sources. For all we know, they could be gone. They could just completely have been disintegrated. And this doesn't even take into account the plot of the game. This just takes into account the gimmick and the explanation for the gimmick. And I still think that the prevailing theory for Skylanders 6 is Malefor. Malefor is probably the biggest speculation, the biggest speculation is that Malefor will be the villain. And that's just because of all the illusions that we've had. But like I said, we still don't know. And we've still got a couple months to wait before we're probably going to see anything. At the earliest, we're going to see something late April. But honestly, I doubt we'll see something late April. Probably early May is when I'm expecting it. Like 3 or 4 weeks before E3. And then we'll get a full feature at E3. And then trickled news throughout the summer. But anyways, that's just a theory. A game theory. No, just kidding. Don't sue me, fine bros. See what I did there. You might not get that. I don't really care. This has been Portal Master 9351. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.